Yes, I'm Marie-Luce Bourguet. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Electronic Engineering and Computer Science at Queen Mary, and I'm going to talk about how showing the benefits of study regularity to learners can contribute to keep them engaged. And by showing, I really mean showing. So let me try to explain very quickly. So the study was done in the context of a rather large undergraduate course, about 250 students. And I've been flipping this course for the last 5 years or so. So what I do is I upload on the university, on the Queen Mary VLE, short interactive videos in the H5P format, if you know the format. So it's interactive. There are embedded questions in the video. I also upload weekly quizzes, exercise worksheets, and students are requested to use those activities, online activities, to prepare for the live sessions, for the live tutorials. So there are 65 in total. When a student engages with one of these activities, they leave traces. Timing of the engagement, but also marks they gain by responding to questions embedded in the videos or responding to the quizzes. So for a flip course to work well, students must have prepared before they come to the synchronous sessions. And typically, it's hard to know if they've done so. So there's a couple of research questions that this work is trying to address. And the first one is, can students' learning pathways be effectively used to measure study regularity in a flipped course? But by learning pathway, I mean the choice that students make of the learning activities that are given to them. So the choice they make to engage with those and when they decide to engage with those activities. So you see sub-learning pathways illustrated here. We've got the 65 learning activities lined up on the horizontal axis and the weeks of the semester. In other words, the time when each of these activities should be completed. That's in the vertical axis. The red line, which looks a little bit like a stepwise function, shows that what the students are expected to do. So I call this the recommended pathway. So each week there are a small set of new activities that must be completed before students can come to or should be coming to the synchronous sessions. Now in green you see an example of a student that follows this recommended pathway almost perfectly. So this is an example of what I call a regular learner. The orange line with those large peaks is an example of what I call a selective learner. So they've chosen the activity, the type of activity they use and engage with, and they typically do so a bit late. So typically after the live session. And the blue line shows what I call a late learner. These learners, they've done almost everything, but very late, after the end of the course, so for doing revisions, right? But not during they were not engaged during the semester. So I'm using the recommended pathway, the one that shows in red, as a reference to calculate the distance between what the students did, so the students' actual pathway, and what was expected of them. Now, this takes me to the second research question. Can such a measure of regularity be used to influence students' learning behaviors? So I've done a couple of things. First, I calculated the correlation between D, so the distance between the student's behavior and the expected one. So correlation between this distance measure and the student's final examination marks. So I calculated the correlation with data collected from the 2021 cohort of students, and I showed the result to the 2022 cohort of students. There's a rather strong negative correlation, as you can see, between this distance and the exam marks. So in other words, lack of regularity is quite strongly negatively correlated with success in the end of term summative assessment. And I also showed them the graphs to explain the meaning of this distance of D, and also so they could visualize regular learning behaviors and non-regular learning behaviors. And these interventions worked. So if we compare results in 2021 and 2022, you see in this table, maybe a bit small, that 20% of the students in 2021, so 20% only had a low distance measure. In other words, only 20% of the students in 2021 were regular learners, and this number jumped to 89% in 2022 after the interventions I just described. Students obtaining an A class grade for the course increased from 23% in 2021 to 31% in 2022. And finally, the failure rate went down in 2022 to 6%. It was 10% in 2021. So I can't say for sure that the interventions based on the learning analytics are solely responsible for these improvements in results and in learning behaviors, but I think that they certainly contributed. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.